Are you ready? Hey, think you can tell us what to do? You think you can tell us what to wear? You think that you're better? Well, you better get ready. Bow to the masters. Break it down! They generate into something cool. We just got tired of doing what you told us to do. Like a freak boy.
Welcome, everyone. We've got a new season of the Flipside Focus. Yes, that's right. Flipside Focus is back after our wonderful sabbatical, which was actually kind of much needed for us, as well as, all sorts of crazy stuff. But it is 2019. We are back, ready to go. I am your host, the Random Dude, Josh, and with me, believe it or not, is a voice from the past, none other than the Dodgy Crusader himself, my good friend Dodgy. How are you, man?
Very good. And I'm really glad to be back, and I'm super excited for 2019.
This year's going to be awesome. It is the year of indie comics, but we'll save that little note for later. See what I did there? Little teaser. Teaser.
Nah.
But I guess let's just jump right into it. We've got some awesome books to review today. And of course, our favorite segment later will be the Kickstarter campaign. But before we jump into the books, we've got a little bit of news. If you guys have been following the Undercover Capes on social media, you know that Al Mega and his family had quite the earth-shattering New Year's, if you will. An unfortunate incident put them in a position that they had to be removed from their home due to a fire, and it was heartbreaking, absolutely heart-wrenching. Like when Al told us what was going on, one of his daughter's friends took a courageous leap, if you will, and set up a GoFundMe to help raise money for Al Mega and his family. And what we would like to do is spread the word about this GoFundMe. It's already raised a lot. I'm not going to lie. It has raised a lot. But we definitely encourage each and every one of you, if you have the means to be able to help and donate, please do so. Al Mega has done so much for us.
Absolutely. And I mean, even if it's $10 here, $10 there, it all adds up. So it's a really, really good thing to do, especially helping someone else in need. There are plenty of GoFundMes out there that are in a similar situation that, they wouldn't put it up unless it was absolutely dire. So, we strongly suggest if you have $10 laying around, it really mean a lot to Al and his family.
Absolutely. And not only that, but also supporting, Al Mega's daughter's friend, the one who set this up. I mean, that takes a lot of courage to do something like this, especially in a time of need. And what a great way, for her to start off the year helping out her friend and her friend's family. That's going to stay with her for the rest of her life. And what a great, great cause it is.
Yep, she has a heart of gold.
She really does. As you can tell, I got a little choked up. I mean, as I said, he's done so much for us, and this is our way of giving back to him. So, as Dodgy said, please consider, $5, $10, anything helps. We'll leave it at that before the whole show goes down and I'm crying like a baby the whole time. And,
Well, we don't want that.
We would not be able to get through the show if we did. But let's jump into some books. Dodgy, why don't you kick this one off? What book or books are we going to be talking about today?
Wow. So there were a fair number of books to choose from. It was a really, really tough decision, but there's one that I picked up. It is called Chaotic Flux. It's created by Scott Payne and Brian Polondo. It's actually written by Scott Payne and the art by Polondo. It's the story looks like a Pacific Rim meets Robotech meets Gundam, with robots that change into spaceships and commanded by people, and obviously fighting gigantic aliens, which is always fun. But in this story, we get to meet a character by the name of Zathira. She's a blue-skinned warrior who has hands that turns into daggers, and also the daggers can come out of pouches in her thighs. Which judging by reading this book, it's still an origin story about her and her powers and how she got these powers, and it kind of leaves an opening to see beyond her as a child, which is sort of the middle of the story. So in the middle of the story, we get to see her as a child and how her powers have been repressed because, obviously humans fear her because of who she is and what she can do. So there's still a lot to be uncovered in this story, but we get to see some pretty cool kick-ass fight scenes, which I did not complain about. But yeah, it's the art is enjoyable. I love the appearance of the monsters. But as I said, it's only an origin story, so there's still a lot more to be covered, being the first issue. What did you think, Josh?
I agree. Keep in mind this book is an origin story, as with most indie books. The first issue. I love the action in this. It was a very smart choice of Scott to start off with the action to set the tone of what to expect later on, rather than jumping into the origin and then into the action. I think had it been the other way around, doing origin first and backstory and then action, I would have been bored.
Mm-hmm.
So to start off with the action first, that kept me engaged going into it, knowing what I have to look forward to as I get to know the characters. The lettering was done really, really well. I loved the lettering in this. The use of colors was great. And as you said, the monsters with the action sequences, very well done.
Yeah.
I definitely need more to develop kind of a deeper opinion of the book. But I've liked what I've read so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I felt the pacing and the action scenes were really well orchestrated, but the art, it was pretty gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. Gorgeous and gorgeous.
Yep.
Get it? Gorgeous.
Love it.
Ah.
Yeah. Gotta love it.
Oh, that's a dad joke if there was ever one.
That is. All right, what do you think about, Josh?
So the first one that I wanted to talk about today is Death Sentence Liberty. Now I'm going to preface this book by saying this is not for kids.
Nope.
Not even for teenagers.
Nope.
This is a very adult-oriented book. So I put that out there because I know we have listeners of all ages. This is one, if you've got kids around, save that when they're not around. So the premise of the book, there is an epidemic going around, and it's called G+. G+ is a fatal virus that is transmitted through unprotected sex. Now, when you're infected with this, you get all sorts of crazy abilities and stuff like that, but the kicker is your life expectancy is 6 months. And this book, it starts off very differently. I did like the use of the pastels.
Oh yeah.
With how this book was put together. The artwork was actually done really well, utilizing that aspect.
Yeah.
As I said, a lot of mature themes talked about, and even the scenes themselves. I mean, yeah. um, like I said with the previous book, this is one I'm going to have to read more to have a true in-depth opinion about it. Again, it's a first book, or it's an origin story that definitely hits the ground running. But see what happens with these characters who have these abilities that they've obtained through this virus is going to be quite the trip, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of action, a lot of action in this. So if you're into blood, guts, and gore, you will not be disappointed by any means.
And in terms of action, there's also different types of action in the book as well.
Yeah, you went there.
Yes. No, you're right. Like some of the pastel scenes, the use of the coloring is out of this world, especially with the character Verity Fett. She, I think she has the power of I don't know what if it's like illusions or something, and all the things coming out of her body when she grows really gigantic is absolutely gorgeous. The art in that, like some of those pages, even some of those panels would make really nice wall paintings. Absolutely gorgeous. Martin Simmons did an amazing job of the art. I just felt that, you're right. It is the first issue. There are some confusion about the structure of the story, but I think that will make more sense once you have to read issue 2 and 3 and beyond. I wouldn't really say don't read this book. Check it out. But I would rather wait for multiple issues, where either if it comes out as a trade paperback would be amazing. But yeah, the art is like, it's out of this world. It's really, really delightful. Yeah, I strongly suggest check it out after you read a couple more issues.
Oh, absolutely. Monty Nero, Martin Simmons, they did a great job. They took a risk, and I definitely applaud them for that. I need to read more.
Yes, absolutely. All right, I'll jump into my next book. Well, there's actually a series of 2 books, and it's titled Lord of the Cosmos. It's created by Jason Lennox and Jason Palmatier. Written by the two, written and art by. So it was written by Palmatier and art by Lennox. And the issue number 1 is labeled Umex Rising. So Umex is the villain, who is the planet Aiden's bigger threat. He's a mecha-human / zombie with a large villain gallery who are ready to attack the world. And there's 7 pages of the villains. So, the gallery of villains spans over 7 pages. So it was so cool. I had to admit, to see the villains and their little bios and who they are and whatnot is amazing. And the villains come in all shapes and sizes, which is cool. But yeah, these stories are these books are anthology series. The main story is about Umex and his army. but the little short stories about individual characters within his army and how they became who they are, and it is really, really nice. And being black and white as well, it has that Judge Dredd 2000 AD style to the art. So I think Lennox has done an amazing job. But what I do like is that some of these short stories are written by different creators, which I thought to be cool. And you can sort of see with the character design and who they are, they're almost like an R-rated version of Skeletor and his minions.
Mm-hmm.
If Skeletor being Umex, and Lady Obsidia, she's like Evil Lyn to Skeletor. So I think that's a really cool outlay, but it is definitely worth the look. I'm really excited to read issue number 3 because I'll tell you what, there's got to be more to the story because we don't even know who the good guys are at this stage. It's so amazing. But what did you think, Josh?
I agree. This was one that when you look at the cover, you're like, ooh, you're thinking it's going to be wall-to-wall color, which I was all for. And then I jump into the book and I'm like, this is all black and white. Ooh. As you said, Umex is, he's a badass. I'm just going to call it like it is. But the disciples of Umex, or Umex, however it's pronounced, I apologize for butchering it. I loved how they set up and introduced all the disciples of Umex. First and foremost, the logo design for the disciples, genius. Absolutely genius.
The hand.
And each character is unique. Each character brings their own level of crazy. Hell, you've got a unicorn that is part of the group. That is just as bad. This is probably the coolest unicorn I've ever seen. So hats off to you guys for coming up with something awesome. But just the different types of characters. You really are not going to be disappointed with these books at all. I did like the short stories. It was like origins of each of the disciples, but it wasn't drawn out.
No.
They didn't have to have these long stories explaining everything. Just they got right to the point. I am excited to see what issue 3, because issues 1 and 2 is really setting the stage for the disciples. And as you said, I'm excited to see what issue 3 has to offer, because the focus right now is on Umex and the disciples. And we don't know who the good guys are or how the rest of the story is going to play out. So I guess the only thing that I would caution is I don't want to see this get dragged on for another 3 issues.
No,
at some point the story does need to move forward, but I do like that they've taken the approach that they have. The other aspect that I do like is seeing all the action figures.
Oh, yes.
At the end of the book, they have the characters in action figure form. And if you guys make a Cycorn action figure, let me know. I want to review that thing on Crisis in the Toyverse. I'm just putting that out there.
Absolutely. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Job well done on these 2 books.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So what have you got, Josh, for your next book?
So riding along with the whole villain aspect or bad guy aspect, we have Tap Dance Killer And this is actually one thing I loved about this was we were very spoiled. We got not one, not two, but three books to
Oh
go
yeah.
through. You know how we
Mm-hmm.
talked about earlier about having at least one or two issues to be able to come up with a good opinion on the book. Well, we got that with Tap Dance Killer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is written by, yeah, let me pull that up because I want to make sure I get names right. uh, written by Ted Sikora with art by Nicholas Harrison and colors by David Bathgalart and Ted Sikora. Um, so we start off meeting character. Her name is Nikki. She was an actress in a show called Nothing Like Vaudeville. Is a, a super awesome tap dancer, very
Mm-hmm.
athletic. Um, you know, ends up in prison,
Mm-hmm.
gets out of prison, ends up being part of a gang of, for lack of better words, killers. But she takes on the persona of the character that she was in the play that she was in,
Mm-hmm.
and ends up becoming part of a group of other um, very colorful characters, to say the least. Um, and in their quest, if you will, just from, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're taking on a mob family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but these books, you were not going to be shortchanged with action. You were not going to be shortchanged with humor. I mean, you get it all. Great writing, great storytelling. The composition is there. Um, we talk about lettering a lot. They nailed the lettering on this. Absolutely nailed it. It is on point. Some of the best lettering I've ever seen in comics, which is saying something, at least in my book. Um, but yeah, just overall a fantastic read. A lot of depth to each of the characters. Um, After reading, the first three issues, I'm hooked. I'm not disappointed at all. I am excited to see where this goes and how they take this story. Um, yeah, Dodgy, what were your thoughts on Tap Dance
Wow.
Killer?
Okay, so where do I start? You mentioned the lettering. I really really missed the yellow monologue text in the beginning of the book. That's how I remembered Frank Miller's Daredevil. So I love that. That was awesome to see. And also the thought bubbles when Nikki's breaking out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
I love that as well. And you're right. The story is really top notch. You have Nikki breaking out of prison because someone was in prison who wanted to kill her. And she deliberately went into prison because she wanted to meet Nikki in jail and kill her herself. Now that Nikki's out, she breaks out, and you know, it's like a cat chase. But I think Nikki's a very interesting character. You're absolutely right about the humor. There's a lot of humor in this book. Especially Nikki and her best friend, who kind of lets her stay at her place for a bit, which is nice. But I think my favorite part of this story was the lead up to the character by the name of Punchline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was introduced earlier in the book, but you had no idea that he is who he will be, and how he became Punchline was uh, truly tremendous. I really, really, really enjoyed that because I didn't expect it. I sort of knew the character, and then I knew Punchline. I'm thinking, oh, I see what's happening here, and yeah, it was actually a really nice twist of the story. So When I first saw the title of Tap Dance Killer, I kind of scoffed at it, thinking it's going to be like really, really cheesy. It is still a bit cheesy, but the story makes it so much better.
Mm,
Um, and there was, and you're right. The first three issues we got to read, thankfully, it did help enhance the origin stories, and like yeah, it's pretty fantastic. You guys got to go check it out.
oh, absolutely. Now, I guess let me pose this question then. Would you say that the Tap Dance Killer and the group of individuals that she's with is better than, say, Suicide Squad?
Oh, definitely. Oh, you mean the movie Suicide Squad?
Movie, comics, I mean, the concept of Suicide Squad, of all these characters kind of doing their thing.
Yeah, the only thing though with Suicide Squad, some of the characters have to die. So I would probably, and I mean, as you know, with Type Dance Killer, there's only her, Punchline, and the other dude, the white face. I can't remember his name. So yeah, I kind of prefer this story because it's fresh,
Hmm.
and I do like the characters. I know their backgrounds are a bit shady, but they're sticking to the job. They're not thinking about blackmailing each other,
Yeah.
which I kind of like.
Well, because at that point, if anyone tries to blackmail the other, they're going to just take him out. So
Exactly
it's
right.
almost like there's a mutual respect of, you
Mm.
don't screw with me and I won't screw with you. Have a good day.
Yeah, and I think everyone is, have their own lives to deal with. They're not, they have lives outside of themselves they need to
Mhm.
deal with. So they're not like truly self-centered,
Yeah. Oh,
if that makes sense.
absolutely. Yeah.
And I think loyalty is everything to them, which I found in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's definitely an overwhelming theme. Um, the last couple of books have been very villain oriented. It
Hmm.
almost seems like that seems to be the trend that with a lot of indie books as of late have been the main characters are going to be the bad guys.
Yeah, I feel that it sort of makes the stories more interesting because rather than like rooting for the good guys always win. I mean, if you could use Superman as an example, like he's a goody two shoes, but he's got the power of a god. So what can you do? Whereas these guys are flawed. Um, they have issues, but they're set out to either one conquer the world or rob somebody, and you feel you want to root for them because hey, why not?
Mm-hmm. And I think it allows for these creators to provide more depth,
I think so.
um, because being the bad guy, the criminal, the killer, you're going to be able to illustrate more the internal conflict
Hmm.
that, oh my gosh, hiccups, more of that internal conflict that they may go through uh, when faced with different scenarios,
Hmm. Yeah.
which in this day and age, comics, I think we really are benefiting from that depth.
Yep.
It's no more just a good guy, bad guy kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I mean, these guys are not like, I suppose, world conquering, but they're just yeah. I just think that it's still lighthearted to read. Like you can still read it without going, okay, this guy is butchering someone. It's not that sort of level of violence, but it's more or less like the robbery and yeah.
Yeah, no, and that makes sense to me. Um, I guess for readers who look into who check this book out, which Dodgy and I both agree, you need to check this one out. Um,
Abs.
keep in mind that one, we're getting into this new world, so there's so much more ahead of us. But they have not disappointed whatsoever with what we've received so far.
Absolutely.
At least that's how I look at it. I don't even know. But that being said, those were phenomenal books to be able to really kickstart this new season of Flipside Focus. But speaking of kickstarting, I think that's a perfect segue for our Kickstarter segment.
Absolutely.
This one, I'm gonna kick this one off because we'll save the best for last. And I only say that because as we were preparing for the show, I was going through Kickstarter. I found one that I was super excited about, and then realized that's Dodgy's pick.
Damn it!
Damn it! But that's a good thing, because that just shows just how awesome it is. Not to say that my pick isn't awesome, because it is, but at least you understand the method of my madness. So that being said, my pick it's called Dog Days. This is a Zootopia crime noir story. The story is about a new detective in this animal world. His name is Barnabas. Just brought into the police force, and is partnered up with a veteran detective who has plenty of issues of her own, trying to find a killer who skins their victims down to the bones. And just everything I've seen about this is, oh my God, this is like the Zootopia movie I want. So written by Travis Gibb, with pencil and ink done by Riccardo Fassini, colors by Claudia Giuliani, lettering by Brent Fowler. I mean, you've got a good group of people who have had experience in the industry. That was probably the first thing I noticed was the quality of the pages that they show in the Kickstarter.
Oh yeah.
You definitely see that experience, and it shows. And I mean, Volume 1 is going to be a 100-page graphic novel, so you're going to be getting your money's worth with this particular Kickstarter. And it's a complete story. I mean, how often do we get that in Kickstarter? Not very often.
Definitely not very often.
So, for them to have a complete story, that in itself is that's great. I mean, the lowest tier does start at $10. That'll get you the digital copy. But let's be honest, you want to have the physical copy. That's only going to cost you $20.
Yeah, that's
$20 to have a 100-page graphic novel.
Yeah.
So far this is already, so it's got a goal of $5,500. They've already raised $1,799. They've got 70 backers with 25 days left. I mean, this just started 5 days ago at the time of this recording. So to raise that much in that short amount of time, kudos to you guys. What are your thoughts on Dog Days?
Well, I mean, I was pretty excited because it has the element of Seven when I was looking at the pages. The tone of darkness that every scene is literally, and especially when discovering the crime scenes. I mean, what is not to like about that? It's got that the crime noir look to it. It feels authentic. It feels eerie. And it's nice to see you've got characters who've got issues, but they have to work together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was excited about. And the fact that the characters are dogs, it has a bit of that Black Sad feel to it, which is a French graphic novel with a cat as a main character. So it has that sort of that feel to it, which is pretty cool. Although you have, as you mentioned before, Zootopia-like animals, but the story is like mega serious. Like this is not a not a Disney cartoon, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed with some of the the bonuses when you pledge. You mentioned before, $20 you get a trade paperback. You also get the Butcher's edition. So if you're like how you mentioned before about supervillains, if you like your bad guys, get the Butcher's edition. It's only $30. Apparently, there's a bit of extra content in there for the bad guys in this book. And for $35, you get the Travis Gibb Writers Reward, which you get a physical signed copy. You also get his other works like Broke Down and For Four Dead Bodies, which you'll get the physical as well as PDF copies. You'll also get a PDF copy of Dog Days as well. So yeah, it's definitely worth a check out. It's nice to jump back into Kickstarter and having a look at some of these books and get excited because there's some really, really awesome material in this. And you get to see the first 9 pages, and it looks amazing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, it's definitely worth a look.
I would say more. It's worth backing. And I like how they explain, who's gonna love this book. So if you're a fan of movies such as Zootopia, Pulp Fiction, Usual Suspects, or Snatch, you're gonna like this book. Same thing if you like crime comics like Sin City, Fables, Stray Bullets, 100 Bullets, and Criminal, you're gonna like this book. Correction, you're gonna love this book. You kind of see where they're taking it. So the thing that I like, especially in the way they're marketing this, is the fact that they understand not only the book, but they understand their audience and the different types of mediums or shows and products that their fans already love, that this needs to be added to your collection.
Yeah.
So,
and also what influenced the story as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you like CSI, The Sopranos, Prison Break, or Sons of Anarchy, you're going to love this book. So, if you like or love any of those things that I've mentioned, Dog Days is a book that you need in your life. I'm just saying. But moving from Dog Days
to something a little bit more wild.
Yes.
So for my Kickstarter, I chose Agent Wild Union 4 issue number 1 out of 5. So this is the first parter. It's written and penciled by Don Walker. It's inked by Larry Welch, colors by Nicholas Chapuz, with letters by Ed Dukeshire. Don labeled this as Wonder Woman in a power suit meets the Men in Black. That alone kind of sets us up for something amazing.
I'm sold.
Absolutely, yeah. That sounds absolutely amazing. So Tabitha Wagner, she's the protagonist, has a code name, Agent Wild. She works for the 12th Hour, which is the agency she's employed by. She's an assassin who fights monsters of all shapes and sizes. I mean, how awesome does that sound? We get to see some of these monsters, and they look friggin' amazing. The art in this is gorgeous. I like the fact they kind of like break her down a little. Dressing up into her power suit. She looks like an ordinary human, like one of us. but she's got really, really major kick-ass powers when she's wearing that suit. I don't know. I looked at the art on the cover and I was like, yep. It didn't take me long to choose that one, and I'm sure you felt exactly the same way, Josh.
Absolutely. After seeing this, I honestly believe DC and Marvel should be worried, because if this character in this book catches a lot of attention, which I'm hoping it does, you're damn right. DC and Marvel should be worried, because she is a badass in every sense of the word. And I love just not using 9-panel pages. You know, Johnny's gonna love that. I mean, the way they've compiled the book, the action sequences. I mean, we could honestly do an episode on this one book alone.
Yeah, no doubt, and the amount of covers that you can choose from, holy moly!
Mm-hmm. And
Even a black.
And the rewards. I mean,
yes,
you get a 2.5 by a 3.5 inch silver metal card. I mean, that is pretty badass. Granted, that was for the first 100 backers. They're already at 112, so I'm sorry. You know, you're not going to get one, Dodgy. I won't get one. I'm sorry. But actually, nope, that was free to the first 100 backers. My bad. So if you back the project, you can get one. But needless to say, it is a unique reward that I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in other Kickstarters.
No, definitely not.
I think when I was looking at the stretch goals, the one that I would love to see is the Chuck Patton 80s retro variant cover.
Oh wow, that would be cool.
So if you guys listening to this, back the project and we can help push it to the $6,000 stretch goal mark, you're gonna get that. But then again, don't do it. Well, yeah, you could do it for the stretch rewards, but really do it for the book because it's that awesome of a book. Yeah, I'm blown away with it. Yeah, really, I am.
And I mean, being like a '90s kid or even an '80s kid, because I basically became a child in the late '80s. If you pledge $20 or more for the Vamp Floor, you get the Kickstarter exclusive cover, which is by Marcelo Trom. Also, the regular cover by Don Walker. You also get 4 trading cards. That's what I'm excited about. The trading cards. I love my comic book trading cards. They're the absolute best. And seeing that, I'm just already excited. But also, what I really enjoy is the fact that if you also get the PDF copy, but you also get audio commentary. Like audio commentary for a comic book. I mean, seriously, that is so cool.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, anyone who started in the business would love to know what a comic book creator thinks, or even just fans of comics in general would just like to know what's in their brain when they're creating these ideas and they're structuring these pieces together. Especially when you've got a writer/artist, because when you've got a writer, they could just they would just pen out the story, but when they're doing both, it's like acting and directing at the same time. It's so cool.
And I think you have to have kind of a broader view of the story and where you're wanting to take it, being the writer and artist.
Yeah, that's true.
And so just seeing how this has been put together, I mean, I'm excited to see where Don takes this. And I don't know about you, I'm going to back the project.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely.
Yep, I'm backing this one. I mean,
I want my trading cards.
Exactly. But both projects, I mean, in all reality, that's only $40.
Yeah.
75 tops to get some
Mm-hmm.
pretty epic stuff. And,
Yeah.
two amazing books with some awesome rewards. I mean, you're paying probably as much for a brand new video game.
Yeah, that's very true.
That, yeah. So, for this first Kickstarter segment of 2019,
Mm-hmm.
Dodgy, we've got a lot of shoes to fill going into the
Yeah,
year.
absolutely. Yeah, you're so right. What on earth is next?
Well, that's the beauty of Kickstarter, because
Yeah.
what we share from here on out is only going to get better and better, and we've set the bar high. So,
We sure have.
but for the first show of 2019, I had a blast.
Me too. And I'm really excited to see more because, the books that we got to review and just read was an absolute joy. And I'm really excited to actually knuckle down and take care of the true indie comics,
Hmm.
people with no publishers, no editors, who do everything by themselves from the coin of their own pocket. That's what I want to. That's the type of stories I want to read and embrace.
Yeah, and that's going to be the big thing of Flipside Focus moving forward. Not to say we don't love the small print or small press publishers, because we do. We absolutely love and support them. Um, but as you said, these books that are from the ground up, really built from the
Mm-hmm.
creators, is what makes comics fun.
Yeah,
So for the show moving forward, so you listeners understand what's going to be going on. We're actually only going to be doing this once a month,
absolutely.
because we want to make sure that we have a chance, because there's so much out there. Um,
Hmm.
we want to make sure we're picking the absolute best for you guys. Now, that being said, make sure to check out comiccrusaders.com. Make sure to check out Geekery Magazine, which is associated with Undercover Capes, because of the fact that we also review a lot more books on there. Um,
Hmm.
we're not kidding when we say we love indie here, um, at Undercover Capes. So make sure to
Absolutely.
check both sites out, as
Mhm.
we review a lot of indie, in addition to the big two. But there's definitely more indie than anything else.
There really is, and especially on August the 3rd. Sure, you know
Oh, yeah.
what happens there.
All right, so August 3rd, 2019. This is a big day for indie
It
comics,
is.
and we want this to become an annual thing, a huge thing. If you remember from a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
one of my early episodes, we interviewed Phil Buck from Buy Indie
Yes.
Comics Day. Um,
Hmm.
and that was a huge success back in 2017. Wow, that's a crazy thought.
Hmm.
2017 sounds like so long ago. Um, but the guys are back, and they've got a whole lot more in store. They want to make it bigger and better than before. So,
Absolutely.
what we've done is we've actually partnered up with them, to help make this a thing. We want to be able to get indie creators on board, local comic books shops on board. We want this to
Yes.
not only be a nationwide thing, this is a worldwide thing, truly celebrating indie comics and the impact that it has on the industry. Um,
Yes.
and unlike the free comic book day, you know the biggest thing, and why it's in the name, Buy Indie Comics, you're doing two things. You're supporting the creators and their projects. These are their dreams. So we're supporting them, and we get the benefit of their ideas on paper. Secondly, we're supporting our local comic book shops, the life and blood of the comic book industry. Yes, we have digital means to be able to read our books, but let's be honest, there's nothing more exciting than getting a trade paperback, getting a graphic novel, sitting down and opening that thing up. And,
yeah, there's nothing like it.
you know, so to say that, again, I'm not discrediting digital comics. It's made my life a lot easier, that's for sure.
True.
But this is a day to really celebrate what indie comics have done, and what they'll continue to do in the entertainment world. That's really what they are. So make sure to follow them on Facebook and Twitter at Indie Comics Day. And, talk to your local comic book shops. Get them on board. Talk to your favorite creators. Get them excited as well. There's going to be a lot happening over the next, 8 months, leading up to that day. And we want to make this a worldwide phenomenon. And the only way to make that happen is with each and every one of you letting your voices be heard that this is something you want. If you love indie comics, this is your day, just as much as it is our day.
So if you're a comic book creator and you're listening to this, reach out to us if you want us to put your products on display. We can absolutely do that, but I would strongly recommend you go to your local comic book shop and ask them what are they doing on Buy Indie Comics Day, because it, as Josh said, it will be a worldwide phenomenon, but we need the creators to be vocal about it. They want this because they want people to come in and see their work. I mean, how fun would it be to actually meet the guy who actually drew the comic? That's pretty amazing.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you look at comics such as The Seance Room, written by our good friend Ben Goldsmith. I mean, that book is amazing.
Yes,
I'm excited for the day I get to meet him in person. Same thing with Franklin and Ghost. I mean, if you've never read those books, oh my God, you're missing out. But meeting, having the opportunity to meet Garrett Gunn, other creators. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I'd be excited to meet Don Walker.
Yeah, me too.
And just seeing how his creation has come to life. I want to meet the man that created this character. I've had the pleasure of meeting a lot of creators, and it's always a joy. It never gets old, ever. August 3rd, 2019. Put it on your calendars. Go talk to your local comic books shops, wherever you live, and let's make this a thing and show the world that we have the best comics in the world. Period.
Absolutely.
So, not bad for a first show. What do you think?
No, definitely. I'm really, really hyped.
Awesome.
Yes, really hyped. I enjoyed reading every book that I read. I love talking about Kickstarter. That was amazing. And also, I'm uber excited for Buy Indie Comics Day. I really am looking forward to it for 2019. We got to make it a thing. We got to work together. Comic book shops, comic creators, we got to unite. Make it happen.
Love it. So, that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Flipside Focus. Make sure to check us out. Next month, we'll be back, and I guarantee, Almega will be with us on the next episode. And if he's not, I'm going to fly to wherever he's at and drop kick him and then leave him. And then leave right there. Actually, no, that's an exaggeration. I'll just kick his ass in video games and we'll go from there.
Ooh, that's even worse. That's brutal, man.
Oh, it is. Make sure to check out all of our other shows, part of the Undercover Capes podcast network. We've got the Definitive Crusade, No Prize podcast. We've got Outside the Panels with Johnny the Machine Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
We've got Real Romance. And then on our YouTube channel, we've got Crisis in the Toyverse. I mean, we've got everything. And this is going to be a phenomenal year. So welcome to 2019. Thank you guys for listening, and we will catch you guys next time. This has been a production of the Undercover Capes Podcast Network. Make sure to check us out on Facebook and Twitter and at undercovercapes.com.